finally another video on a video game, because I did a review on Spider-Man 2. That was it. It's almost been a year since that game came out, which is crazy because it feels like yesterday. It still feels like a new game, and it's weird that next month it will be a year. I remember when they got announced. But anyway, this isn't a Spider-Man video. It's a video on the 2XKO Alpha Lab test thingamajig that they did, and I got a code. So these are my thoughts, my first impressions on the game. Now, a couple of things to preface before I get into it. This is from a perspective of both a casual fan of fighting games and also I guess you could say less than casual fan of League, because the only League content I've interacted with is Arcane, which I feel like isn't like the craziest thing. There's definitely a lot of people that didn't play League but watched Arcane and enjoyed it. So the first time I saw that this was in development, back when it was still called Project L, I was like, this looks really cool, because I like fighting games and I've just watched Arcane and enjoyed it. So I was like, perfect. And the wait's been a little long, but if they're taking their time to make a great game, then that's okay. And spoilers, I think it's really fun. So I'm just gonna get into talking about it. First up, visually, amazing. When I first saw the art style for this game, I was immediately hooked, immediately impressed. It doesn't look like Arcane, but it's still kind of got that interesting cel-shaded art style where it's not striving for intense realism. This one's a lot more cartoonish, but that's okay because obviously the visuals of Arcane are insane, and I don't think you could do that in a video game, especially a fighting game, without it just like needing the best hardware ever or just taking a million years to develop. But that's okay because this art style, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's its own thing that's reminiscent of what I feel like a lot of casual fans like me expect now from, I guess, the world of League of Legends. But it's still its own thing, and it's distinct and it's unique in its own way. So it doesn't feel like it's just like an Arcane spin-off game. It feels like it's definitely its own thing. And yeah, again, I'm going to end up talking about Arcane a lot because that's my introduction to the series. But anyway, the art style, really love it. And the animations are incredible. Every move feels so perfectly crafted and well crafted and has so much character in it. Echo, who's my favorite in Arcane, is also my favorite in the game, mainly because his animations are just so fun to watch. I like pulling off good combos because I'm enjoying looking at them taking place, not just because I'm gonna win the fight. Like, I think it's important to obviously balance a powerful move and what works gameplay wise and what will win you the game, but it's also important to me, for me personally, a fighting game where I'm finding it cool watching the fight, because personally my favorite element of fighting games is seeing these characters do cool things, and then of the fact that I'm controlling them is like an added bonus. But I like watching fighting game stuff on YouTube because it's cool just to watch the characters fight, So yeah, the animations are so good. Every character feels distinct as well, both because of the gameplay, but again, the animations, everyone feels unique, distinct, recognizable in their own way. And the small roster for this alpha makes it so that every one of the characters is important. Every one of the characters is instantly recognizable, and yeah. And I don't think that's just because there's so few of them. I feel like it's because everyone's so well done, so well animated, so well realized that even someone like me who doesn't know these characters from League, by the end of the alpha test period, I still felt like I really knew these characters individually because they all had a sense of character and they all stood out. No one kind of blended in, no one felt useless gameplay wise or visually. So yeah, loved the cast of characters, loved how they looked. The stages also, really great selection of stages. They all did something different, they all had a great amount of detail, they all looked visually stunning. This game looks great. The UI as well, so cool. I love the branding, I love the logo, I love the style, I love the music, so cool. Speaking of that, the lobby system, love that as well. I love how it's kind of like aiming for like an arcade style. You can go up to people playing and see their fight in real time, but you don't have to like load in. It's just kind of all seamless, and that's the power of current gen consoles. But just that alone made it feel like I was actually sharing space with other people, kind of made it feel more realistic, made it feel more fun. Like, yeah, you and you, let's all fight right now, and then we can all split off and fight other people. There's one big screen in the middle where you can watch other people fighting. I found that really cool, and it made me want to play more because I felt like I could see everyone around me that I could fight instead of, just sitting on a loading screen waiting. Like, it made it feel more fun and tactile and just a better experience overall to actually play the game with others online, which obviously you want because fighting games are such an online focused experience. You want it to be enjoyable, memorable, and to bring you back very frequently. Every day is like the aim, to like bring you back daily. And I was playing it daily, not just because I wanted to play every day because I knew I had limited time, but because I actually wanted to. It was fun. Not to like shit on anything new, but MultiVersus, I was playing that a lot. I think I was binging it a bit too much because I knew I wanted to get more, character tokens and all that. But that burned me out. Whereas this, I was playing a lot in a short amount of time, but it was just fun. So maybe it's just a more fun game. But that brings me to something else that I enjoy, that it's free to play, or it's going to be free to play, and obviously this was free to download, but it didn't feel like it was skimping out on anything. It felt very, very, very well done and polished, and meticulous amount of detail and care put into it. And not to say MultiVersus doesn't have that, but there's a sense that it just feels slightly cheap. Like, you get the sense that, yeah, this is a free game, so they're gonna do stuff that you might not want if you're expecting this to kind of feel like Smash. And if you want to use the flip side and say you want 2XKO to feel like a premium traditional fighting game, like, I don't know, Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, or like a actual tag team fighter like Marvel vs. Capcom series or Dragon Ball FighterZ, then I think this is a more directly comparable thing. It's like actually on the same level despite being free to play, and I think that's kind of what I enjoyed about it, that it didn't really feel like it should be free to play. Not that I'm complaining, and I think it works for it, especially if there's no story mode or whatever, or lots of single player content, but it felt really well done. So the fact that it's free is kind of cool. Well, it's very cool. And as long as, microtransactions are just kept to like a battle pass and just cosmetics in general, then I'm good with that. I'm cool. It's like the Fortnite way of not really making me pay for any real content, which again is the thing MultiVersus really annoyed me with, and I didn't realize how much it annoyed me, is that I just need to be able to play as all the characters at launch. I don't know, it's just Smash gets away with it because you unlock them by playing, and a couple of secret characters in a fighting game is okay, and DLC obviously is DLC, but when you have to grind away, and especially because the grind was intense just to unlock one character, anyway, that's a whole different story, but I enjoy that that's not in this. Now onto the actual gameplay side of it all. This is where it gets a bit mixed for me, and not mixed on the game's behalf, but kind of it's my fault that it's mixed. So I'll explain what that means. Basically, I'm not the best at fighting games. I'm a casual fighting game fan. The most I played of a fighting game is, I think I've got like 60 hours in Smash Ultimate. I played a lot of Smash Bros. Brawl when I was a child, so I don't know if that even counts. And I played a lot of Injustice 2 back in like late 2010s. So I'm like decent at fighting games, but not the best. I more just play them for fun. A lot of the time also on Smash and Injustice, I never really played online, mainly because I knew I'd get my ass kicked. So I just kept it to story modes and just against computers or against my friends. Then I'll do well because I'd invite my friends over and just try hard. But anyway, so 2XKO definitely felt like a step up in what I needed to be doing. And because of that, at first day, I was doing well. And then as soon as it got to the second day where people had had a day to really get good at the game, I felt like I was just losing every fight. And then I'd get like a lucky one where someone was worse than me, and it felt like, oh wow. And then next fight, I would just lose again. So for a bit, I was annoyed. For a bit, I felt like, wow, they need to find a way to make this easier. Or, okay, I will say this. I think the combos can be a bit too long, and like, I don't know how to escape them. But the more I thought about it, and the more I played, you just have to get good at not getting hit by those combos. I do think there's still a way to balance it a bit. But if you're good at the game, you don't get hit by those combos. And if you're great at the game, you can make it so that the people trying to not get hit by your combos get hit by them, if that makes sense. Well, I just needed to kind of realize that it's because I'm not good. Simply, I'm just not good at the game. And at the same time, not everyone's going to have my mindset that even though I was losing a lot, I was still playing the game. And I never really realized I was that committed to video games. It's only when I've played a couple of hard games this year that I've realized I can actually like keep going more than I ever assumed. Like I've always assumed I'm never going to play Dark Souls or Bloodborne or Elden Ring because I've always thought I don't have the patience for the boss fights. I don't have the patience to try again after losing so many times. But recently I've kind of learned that I might. So this was also a good test for that because I kept losing, trying again, and even rematching when I lost horribly and doing better the next time. So this helped me realize that maybe I do have it in me to just keep going and keep going. Fighting games were also a genre where I thought, I don't think I can get really deep into this because I don't think I have the patience or the drive to, keep practicing and keep training and keep trying to do the combos and trying to get good and go over and over. But this alpha test kind of taught me that I might. So the more I played, the better I got. I still never got to a point where I felt like I'd, become perfect and fully confident in the game and honed in every skill and able to perform amazing combos and whatever. But it was a far cry from that second day where I felt like I was just never going to get good. So my initial thoughts for this video were, I thought I was going to end up sadly saying that it's too hard for casual players, which it might be. Still, I think it is a bit too hard. I don't think it's a good entry for people who've never played a fighting game. And I will say that if they're aiming for that, because I thought when I first heard of this announcement that they were aiming for people like me who would want to play it because they watched Arcane and therefore, or they might just play League, and both groups might be a lot of people that don't play fighting games. So they're trying to introduce a lot of, newcomers and casual fans. If that's the case still, I still think the skill level's a bit too high. That being said, the more I thought of it, this isn't really, it's an interesting complaint because, again, I think the thing with fighting games is you do have it in you to get good. You do have it in you to get to that level. So maybe it's just like a thing of skill-based matchmaking, which I'm pretty sure they introduced later on in the test period. Or just ways to play with people, your skill level. And therefore, you won't feel like you're up against the odds, up against the people who've played for hours and hours on end. And it'll be easier to build up those skills. So, and then also I do think having a sizable amount of local, offline content will make it so that you can hone in on those skills without feeling the pressure. Because I feel like there's a lot of people that felt like me back in the day where the pressure of online dissuades them from playing online or playing the game at all if it's only online, versus if there's a way for them to get good offline, then they feel more confident to then jump into the online fray. But if it's all online and it's hard to get into and it feels like the odds are against you when you first boot up the game and it's free, so you don't feel that drive to get good because you just spent £60 on the game, then I can see it, not having as big of a player base that they might be aiming for. That being said, I think it's fun to try and get better, and it was fun discovering that I was getting better. So I think it's a balance. I don't think it's an overall complaint that I have that it's too hard for newcomers and this game will never be, accessible to anyone who hasn't played a million billion fighting games before. But I do think they're struggling between trying to appeal to casuals and die-hard fighting game fans. And that's just going to be the case because they're putting in a lot of time and effort to making it technically impressive for those die-hard fans of the genre, but also they're trying to market it and make it look, interesting to newcomers to the genre because it's literally a spin-off of a MOBA and includes characters and, design inspiration from a TV show. So two things that aren't fighting games, but are massive. So therefore, there's just going to be a sizable amount of people who haven't played a fighting game before, but they will be interested because they see their favorite characters from the show and the game. So it's just interesting. And obviously this is why they have an alpha test. They need the feedback from all kinds of people. And the feedback I've been seeing from pro level people or, just better people than me is that it's really technically impressive. But even them I've seen saying, are the combos too long? Is it accessible to newcomers? And that kind of validated my feelings a bit because I was like, okay, good. It's not just that I'm so bad that the game's just hard. It's because there's there's an actual discussion going on with that. So it made me feel like, okay, good. I'm not just imagining things or I'm not just that bad. It's an overall sentiment, even from people that don't really need that to be easier because they're good. They're actually thinking about the lower level players, which is also appreciated. So I do think it will be addressed and I do think it will be changed up a bit, and hopefully they don't change it so that it's a simple game for others, because I'll never want to ruin the experience for people that have just had a lot of fun with this kind of high level gameplay. But yeah, and I will say this, for a tag team fighter, which I've heard is supposed to be harder, and I can understand why, I wasn't having too much of trouble. So from that aspect, I can see that there is definitely been thought put into my kind of player level, because it was actually accessible, which apparently is a hard thing for this genre, so, or subgenre of the genre. So props to them for that. The fact that I could actually play the game for one and not feel completely like blindsided by just a high skill level. It was just hard, but not without fun. I had fun. That's also the most important thing. I think I had fun because the visuals and the sound and the gameplay and the animation is all really stylized and fun and interesting, and you know, Echo's moveset is so unique and I've never seen anything like it in a fighting game, and that pushed me to just keep getting good at the game because I want to see more of it. I don't want to drop it because it's so well done. It's cool. Like, I enjoy booting it up and playing it so much so that I miss it already, even though I lost half the game. No, I'm gonna say 3 out of 4 games I played, you know, majority of the games, 70%, 80%, whatever, I lost, but I still had fun. That's kind of crazy. And I think that's the biggest props I can give it, that I had fun even though I was kind of shit at the game, and that says something to me. And this is only an alpha test. There's gonna be more characters, there's gonna be more content. It didn't even have local offline play, so I was forced to play online mostly, which again I said isn't my go-to, but I had fun with it. So I think this game can only go up from here. I do think maybe they can try and make it more accessible to casual players, but at the same time, I don't think they need to dumb it down at all. I don't think it's in a place where it's only for top level players. I just think not everyone's gonna have the mindset where they need to get good to play the game, but at the same time, maybe, yeah, make sure those people just need to learn that they need to get good. And I think it's in an interesting spot where people will want to get good because it's the fighting game spin-off of their favorite MOBA. It's the fighting game spin-off of their favorite TV show. It looks good. It is fun to dive into. So therefore, they will want to get good because of that. And I think that's an interesting place to be at, where you can actually start to build up people's, you know, drive and willpower for fighting games because they want to play it. And that was how I felt. I want to get good, so I was making myself keep playing, but because I was having fun. I wasn't making myself just, even though I was enjoying it, it was fun. So for a test, I think this was really good. For a casual player who can't really go into depths about the technicalities and stuff, I hope this was interesting or just to hear my thoughts on it. I'm very excited to play this game again next time I can. I don't know when that is, but I think this is a really, really promising start. And I can see this going far for years, many years to come. So I do hope it finds success. Definitely a must play for when it next comes back. And I hope this reaches some devs, because I'm going to use the hashtag on Twitter or whatever. Hopefully this gets to someone's eyes, just because I think hopefully I provided an interesting perspective as someone who doesn't play a lot of fighting games, but still find this very fun, but sees areas where it can be more accessible, but doesn't think it's impossible to access at the moment. Thank you for watching this 20-minute video. Wow. I was rambling a lot, but I think it was focused rambling, and I kind of like this video game first impressions thing, so maybe I'll do it more. And I've also got some ideas, some concept videos for game ideas I have. One is a fighting game, so I should get that out soon if this blows up or does well, because then I'll have some fighting game ears and eyes on this. So if that's you, subscribe so then you can see when this next comes out, because I've been thinking about this idea for a while, so I definitely will get it out sooner if I see that there's more interest in it. So thank you for watching and have a nice day.